Hey guys, welcome to Pysql. Let's start the first section with the introduction to Python. Today, we are going to deal with overall Python basics tour. That is our 12th syllabus, first chapter, Python revision tour. The contents included are introduction, what is Python, where is Python used, how Python works, a program, advantages and disadvantages. You must have enjoyed learning Python in class 11. Am I right? It's a very popular programming language among beginners as well as developers. Before we start with newer topic and concepts in Python, let us revise all that you have learned in class 11. And this chapter will be doing just the same. That is, take you to the revision tour of Python that you learned in your previous class. Let's start with what is Python. Python is a widely used general-purpose high-level programming language. It was created by Guido van Rossum in 1991 and further developed by the Python Software Foundation. It was designed with an emphasis on code readability, and its syntax allows programmers to express their concepts in fewer lines of code. As we all know, Python is a high-level programming language. It's very simple and powerful programming language too. There are many pros and cons for this language, but there are also many varieties of platforms where Python can be used. These are a few examples of uses of Python. It's used in various platforms such as creating web applications, for game developments, creating desktop applications, for machine learning and data science. All will be interested to know how Python works. Let's see how Python works. Source code. Source code is given in simple English language. Source code is given by the user to the system. We know that Python is an interpreted language, so there is no need of compilation. This is the working cycle of Python. When we give a source code, it is being interpreted and we get the output. Creating a program is a wonderful thing. So let's find what is a program. A program is a set of instructions that tells the computer to perform a specific task. Here we are going to study how to create a program using Python. We can just learn the concept of Python program with the first simple program. Creating a program is very interesting and it's also a wonderful thing. So let's find out how to create a program. Let's start with a welcome to Pysql program. Here, welcome to Pysql will be displayed on the output screen. Let's go. The first program is to print welcome to Pysql. Here we are going to study two possibilities how this program can be run. The first one is interactive mode. Here the codes are run directly in the Python shell. You can see the example below. Here we will give the particular statement. In this case we will give print welcome to Pysql after the prompt. And we will get the output in the same string, that is the Python shell. The second possibility is script mode. Here this is all about creating a file, naming and saving it with .py extension, then running it. Here we will write the statement in another file, save it with .py extension, then using run module we will run it and we will get the required output. Let's understand it by a picture of the code. In this, the pgm.py is our program file. This is used to run and we will get the required output. That is welcome to Pysql. There are many differences between script mode and interactive mode. In interactive mode, we use input and we get output in the same stream or file. But in case of script mode, we give input in a particular file and we get output in another file. The second example or advantage and disadvantage of script mode and interactive mode is, in interactive mode, it can't be saved for future purpose. But in case of script mode, it can be saved for future purpose. Now, let's find out what are the advantages and disadvantages of Python. They are listed below. The first advantage or the pro is easy to use. As we said in the introduction that Python contains fewer lines of code, it is very easy to use. Because of this same fewer lines of code, it's also an expressive language. That is our second pro or advantage of Python. The third advantage is interpreted language. Here we want to study what is the difference between interpretation and compilation. Interpretation, if, for example, let us consider a program with 5 lines of code. In case of interpretation, each line will run and will return error. But in case of compilation, all the line all together will run and will return error. This is the difference between interpretation and compilation. In case of Python, Python is an interpreted programming language. Fourth advantage of Python is its completeness. When we compare C++, we want to download additional libraries for that. But in case of Python, there are many inbuilt libraries so that we don't want to download any additional libraries. The fifth pro is cross-platform language. That is same as varieties of applications. We can use this Python language in various platforms. It can be used everywhere in most of the platforms. The sixth pro is free and open source. No payment is required for getting Python. We can just Google Python ideally and download it. It's very free and it's an open source. The last one or the last advantage is varieties of application. As we said before, there are varieties of applications where Python can be used. The next is codes. The fast code is not the fastest language. We know Python is an interpreted language, so it will take a certain time to just interpret and return the error. If it was a compiled language, the lines of code will all together run and will return the error. But in Python, it's an interpreted language, So each line will run and return the error. So it will not be so fast when compared to other compiled languages. The second disadvantage or code of Python is it have lesser libraries. As we said before in the advantages of Pro, that is its completeness, we said that there is no need of additional libraries for Python. But there is a code too for that case. That is, we can't download any additional libraries. So when compared to C++, Python will have lesser libraries. The third disadvantage is not so strong on type binding. Let's consider an example. Let's consider a variable, capital A. We declare that capital A, that variable, has integer in a program. And in that same program, we just enter a floating point value, that is a decimal value, to this capital A. It won't show any error, but we won't get an required output. So we can say that Python is not so strong on type binding. The last code of Python is it is not easily convertible. Python language is a language which can't be easily convertible because it is high-level language. When we see this tabular column, we can just observe and say that in case of Python, there is many advantages. Advantages are more than the disadvantages. There are only 4 disadvantages when we see in brief, but there are 6 to 7 advantages for Python. Now, let's find out something interesting. If you have observed all the points clearly, then you might have seen every point in Python have an interlinkage. These interlinkages or interconnections make the concept more easier. So we can study Python more easier and smarter. Good luck, guys. That's all for today's section. In case of any doubts, you can clarify using the comment box. In case of any suggestions, you can just note it. Thank you, guys. We will see in the next section with the continuation of this, that is the Introduction to Python Part 2. Till then, bye and have a nice day.